It's important to consider the perception of trauma, particularly as it relates to children. Our trauma reactions come from our perception of the events that we've experienced, and children perceive events very differently than adults do. Imagine for a moment that you were with a group of adults taking a group of children to the zoo, and that you walked into the gorilla exhibit. And you see the gorillas, they're playing out among the trees and their different enrichment activities, and the children have lined up against the glass. And maybe you have 3 or 4 children ranging in age from 2 to 6 years old. And one of the gorillas gets very curious about the children pressed up against the glass and runs over to the glass and places his big hands on either side of the children that are gathered there, and 2 of the children begin screaming and just crying hysterically. But the group of adults finds this a little bit humorous and starts laughing at the children that are crying. And as you imagine this image, think about this from the view of the children. They don't know that the glass is protective. They don't know that it creates a barrier between them and the gorilla. They don't know that the gorilla is simply curious about them. This is an animal that's 2, maybe 3 times bigger than they are, and they're feeling very powerless and helpless in this experience and desperately afraid, potentially even fearing that their life is in danger, that their life is going to end. But the adults see this from the perspective of their understanding that the gorilla is simply curious about these small human beings, that there is a thick layer of protective glass, that there's no way that the gorilla can get out and harm these children. But these are all things that kids don't know yet because they haven't developed that from their life experience. Their perception of this event is very different than the adults. And their experience of the adults finding their reaction, the children's reaction, humorous, can cause an additional layer of trauma to this experience because they feel like maybe they're being mocked a bit or made fun of. So as we consider the experiences of trauma that we, or the experience of events that we go through, and potentially even our own body's physical reaction to them, it's important to recognize that children see that very differently than adults do, based on their size, their life experience, their knowledge of the world around them, which is still growing and expanding as they are.